Hi everybody and happy Christmas. Right, we've got a bit of a different video today. In fact, we're going to have a little bit of a string video. So this is a really quick introduction video and to do the first off. So what I thought I'd do as a kind of Christmas bonus, we're going to do the 12 days of Christmas, but instead we're going to focus on feeding and enrichment feeding in particular. So this is all about, oh sorry, the rats have figured out where I've hidden the food. I shall show that one later. This is all about how we can make feeding more than just about nutrition. So there's a massive opportunity with feeding for us to give the rats more than just a meal. So we want to challenge them, we want to kind of engage with those natural instincts, which means we want them to be thinking about problem solving, encouraging them to be active, all sorts of things like that, forage, dig, etc. And food is a really good motivator for them to do that, and it's also a really good way where we can keep them entertained for a period of time. So none of these videos are going to be particularly long compared to my normal waffly ones in theory, and we'll see how I go. But they're all going to be about what can we do to get the most out of our feeding for the rats. So I'm going to start with the most important form of enrichment feeding to me, and this is something that I do with my rats from basically from birth. Well, as soon as they're eating, which is about 2.5 weeks-ish when they first start trying food. My dry mix is always scatter fed. So scatter feeding is all about spreading, be careful Tato, spreading the food around the cage so that they have to dig, forage and search for it. It has a kind of numerous benefits, such as it's very good at evening up the odds. So if you've got a group with skinnies, like little monster here, and kind of slightly chubbier rats that need less food, then scatter feeding has the bonus of making them all work for it. So your slower eaters get on better because the faster eaters that would normally hog the food bowl have to kind of search around for the food too. So it's really useful to try and balance the kind of weights in your group. It's also really useful because it keeps them interested and keeps them feeding for a longer period of time. So, you know, if you put a bowl of food in with the rats, unless you're ad-lib feeding, which tends to lead to balloons with a lot of rats, unless you're ad-lib feeding, the rats will eat it and then it'll be gone and they'll have nothing else to do. So they'll get bored. Sorry, I thought Chocobo got stuck then. But yeah, so they'll get quite bored, and through the day when you're not around to play with them or engage with them, then they won't have a lot to do, so they'll just sleep. So this also increases activity levels. And it's a really good thing for if you've got a few chubby rats or you've got rats that may be a bit possessive over food. Scatter feeding kind of offers them so much excitement and happiness, and just they absolutely love it. In fact, mine, if I offer them food in a bowl, will generally go for the food that's scatter fed rather than bowls. Sometimes I use bowls when you've got like a rat that needs extra food. I'll stick the food in a bowl to try and get them to eat as much as possible in the time that they're in there. They will still quite often dig it out and then eat the stuff that they've put on the floor because they enjoy it, they genuinely do, and they love rooting through the food trying to find the best thing. The other thing it's good for is it helps prevent selective eating. So everybody will have heard or read, I'm sure somewhere, that if you feed a mix, which I do, the rats will selectively eat, so they're not going to get a balanced diet. Now if you're scatter feeding, generally speaking, the rats will eat more of what they find straight away, and that's because they don't want to have to keep searching for the next good bit. So it helps kind of them eat a balanced diet, along with limiting the amount of food that you've got in there. Really works very, very well. Right, so scatter feeding. Now, in theory, the rats are out and about. In fact, I'll move out of the way a little bit so that you've got a better view. I'm going to just scatter feed on the floor here because then you can see it. Normally I will scatter feed all the way around the cage, but we're just going to start in one area just so that you can see a little bit of how they enjoy it in theory. So we have some of their mix pre-weighed. The rats are now all aware that the mix is coming. This is a really good trick actually, after free range. Make sure you feed after free range because it really gets them interested. So scatter feeding is not complicated. It's literally just chucking the food around. What I also quite like doing is sometimes I like, so you can see if Mog gets out of the way, we've got a coconut shell there. I'm just going to stick a little bit in and bury it a bit so they have to then dig around a bit more. You can see straight away they're in there. They're searching for all their favourite bits. Some of them have also figured out that I've got the pot here, so they're trying to get the best bits out of there. Come on. Right, so all the food's around. What you can also do is kind of scrumple up the substrate a bit, and you'll see at the moment I have a mixture of shavings and cocoa fibre bedding. That's because they've dug half their digging box out into the thing. It's actually working really well. I'm quite pleased with it. So I might end up doing something like this permanently, but it is quite good for digging in. So basically all they're doing now is they're scrumpling around in the ground, trying to find all the nice bits. Chocobo's displaying very nicely for you. The others have all gone hidden around. In fact, several of them have found their late favourite bits and have shot higher up in the cage to go and eat it in privacy. We've also got a few that are checking out the other locations and on the scatter feeding and are a bit disappointed to find that there isn't any food in there today. They're in the digging box, a few of them, and then we've got a few that are higher up in the cage that are having a look around. So this is scatter feeding. I would definitely recommend it to anybody. The rats love it, I love it. It's one of those things that there's not really any negatives. A lot of people think that scatter feeding, because quite often I scatter feed in the litter tray as well as elsewhere, oh my god, the rats will wee or poo on the food. Now bear in mind that rats naturally eat their own poo to kind of recover nutrients. It's not something you have to worry about with rats. And it's actually, they use urine to mark food that's safe in the wild for other rats to eat. So it's quite a kind of important thing for them. So don't worry about that. And just make sure that you give them this kind of natural enrichment, because once you start you won't look back. It's so good for them. Ignore Luna having a little bit of a humping session there with the other rats. She's an interesting little character, is my Luna. But yes, so scatter feed. Make sure you do it. Try and start small. If you're not sure, just scatter on a small bit of the floor like I've done here. As they get more and more into it, then you need to use more and more of the cage, because that's half the fun for them, having a hunt around and search. And over the next 12 days, in theory, assuming all goes to plan, I'm going to start doing more of these videos, and they're going to be fairly short, and they're going to look at different types of enrichment feeding. I would encourage you to come along and join in. Maybe give your rats a chance to do some of the things that mine girls are doing at the same time. Bit of a celebration of both Christmas and enrichment for them. So I will see you shortly, and goodbye from me and little Mog. And she wants to go back to her dinner. Yes, you do. So have a lovely Christmas and have a lovely Christmas day, and I shall see you tomorrow.